Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ask Aries. I am, as always, Aries Edge. We got a good one tonight. We've got a good one. The Eagles from the Pacific Northwest, they have some questions. I've got some answers, hopefully answers that they would like to hear. Hopefully something that they are looking to hear about. Let's go ahead and pick up and read the question. I'm a little late. I was a little late getting everything up to speed and ready to rock and roll. We are here now. Let's go ahead and pull up the question that was asked by the Eagles of the Pacific Northwest. The question that was handed over to me. The Eagles of the Pacific Northwest want to know, what does Aries Edge think of the following hot topics? 1, cyberbullying. What is it? 2, what is a lazy builder / pilot player? 3, why do some playgroups feel they are untouchable? And 4, do you believe that the Eagles are still classless? Some examples of the latest drama, but not limited to, is the Roc Cup call-out screenshot aftermath, the Majestix stream incident, and the recent accusations of cyberbullying. Again, seems like it's a mouthful. Quite a bit going on there. First, to know what we're talking about, we need to know a few definitions of things. So, yep, I did some research and I looked a few things up. Sorry about that. So, we will go straight to, there we go. No, not sick. I had baseball today. Just tired. Just run down, sir. A lot going on. We're getting it in tonight. So, bullying. What is it? Definition of bullying: seeking to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as vulnerable. Cyberbullying: the use of electronic communication to bully a person, typically by sending messages of an intimidating or threatening nature. So, people want to know. The Pacific Northwest, the Eagles want to know, what is cyberbullying? It's just that. It's exactly what I just read, except going online to doing it. So basically, it's no different than bullying, which the definition of it is seeking to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as vulnerable. It's to go on there and it is to intimidate or harm someone. So the question is going to be, and of course it's always going to be, it's going to come right back around full circle to, do you think the things that Maddie G or even Aubrey from the Pacific Northwest, do you think that they were rightfully called out and reported for cyberbullying? And the answer is no. The answer is no. As much as people want to believe it, or as much as people are going to say this, that, or the other thing, no. What Matty G and what Aubrey did were no. Especially Matty G, for what he said recently to be considered cyberbullying is a joke. It is a joke. Matty G flat out, and I'll pull up the damn thing of what he was said by Matty G. But for somebody to think that Matty G was being a bully or trying to cyberbully, it is a joke. It is an absolute joke. It is someone who is just soft and somebody who did not want to answer the questions that Matty G answered. Can Matty G be a little brash and sometimes can be a bit of a jerk? You betcha. He sure can. Was he trying to bully or cyberbully anybody with his latest runaround of things? No. No, he wasn't. Not one bit. And the fact that what he posted up and what he said was marked as cyberbullying is a joke. That's just somebody, and again, we're not going to mention names. We're not going to point fingers. Everybody can figure out things for their own. And if they can't, then you must live under a rock. But it's just basically a certain individual or a certain group of individuals that just don't want to answer the question that Matty G has put forward. So to report him for cyberbullying is pretty cowardly. I'm looking it up right now because I do believe that somebody took it upon themselves to take exactly what was said and repost it so everybody could see it. But yeah, for somebody to go ahead and to report it is horrible. So what was said, obviously, it's gonna tie into what is a lazy pilot or builder, which is the next one. So what Matt G had posted up was, of course, certain person loves that it is being called lazy. Yeah, my life is pretty busy with an 8-month-old, new house, work, family issues. I've always put Heroclix last on my to-do list. Don't really have time and or care to prep, game plan, or etc. I can do that all on the fly with any team before the tournament starts. That's part of the fun to me. The game has millions of possibilities and strategies. Thinking of them on the fly keeps the game amazing. Always new and refreshing to me. It never feels stale to me unless I play the same team over and over and over again, which I don't like to do. I like to win with a proven team to show that I can do or replicate something who practiced for hours on end or spent days building a team. I can do it in even a mere minute because I like the strategy involved. Obviously, it doesn't always work out, and I'm not the best at it. But let's all be honest here. There was never an issue until somebody lost to me last weekend, made a huge scene at PJ Boland's event. Call it what you want, sore loser, bad sportsmanship, childish, whatever. It's funny how other people have played it and have done very well with it, but nothing has been said about it being lazy until I played it against this individual and beat him. I know he played it himself in a 400 limited event with Copycat. No one said it was lazy then. Adam Frieden played it at a Roc event 2 years ago in the Super Qualifier event and won. No one said it was lazy then. Matt Esbrook played it at a Roc Cup and top 4 at this year's Worlds with it. No one said it was lazy then either. Jason Alvey played it 2 weeks ago, but no one called it lazy then. Hell, even this person played against Tommy Lytle the round before they played me and won, but never said Tommy was lazy. So let's fire a bunch of swear words, shots, and get this stuff either started or over with. If it is so lazy, why have you played it before, and why haven't you called out other players who have played it? I've gotten messages from people all over the country about this. Obviously, you're very well known in the community, and you have won Rock Worlds 2 times in a row. You travel the country to play and have a weekly podcast to talk about your opinions, thoughts, and views about everything Clicks related. You're also the person who is known for arguing with his teammates, other players on stream at big events, and making a huge scene at a couple events the past month. Can you take a step back for a second and remember that it is a blanking game with little plastic pieces? Calm the blank down. No one is targeting you or saying you're a bad guy, but I thought we were friends. I guess I was wrong. Is the statement that Matty G had posted up in a comment thread. I don't find anything wrong with what he said, neither, and I don't find it to be bullying. There are many other examples that people have spoken about, who have talked about, of other players who have had temper tantrums or who have just flat out acted in ways that could be considered bullying at events, and nobody says a word about it. Matty G goes on, spills his guts, asks a bunch of questions about a particular build, and instead of getting answers that he deserves, and that we're all waiting for the answer of, people decide to report what he has said as it being cyberbullying. That to me is just cowardly. Again, I've omitted names. I'm not going to mention names. That's just not my style, and it's not what I'm doing tonight. But we know who it was. We know what's going on. We are all not stupid. Reporting him for cyberbullying, for basically telling the truth and basically just calling somebody out and asking a very simple question as to why it's not lazy for other people, but lazy for him. We're still wondering. So anybody decides they want to go ahead and answer that question, that'd be outstanding. Second question that was asked by the Pacific Northwest needs a little dabbling of I can't think of the word right now. What is it? A definition. Lazy. Lazy is defined as the unwilling to work or use energy. He was too lazy to cook is the example. Synonyms. This is where it's going to get very interesting. Synonyms for lazy are idle, indolent, slothful, work shy, shiftless, loafing, inactive, inert, sluggish, lethargic, listless, torpid, slow moving, slow, heavy, dull, plodding, and many more. So the question that they asked is, what is a lazy build and or pilot? The question at hand people have been asking, is a full point Unimind a lazy build? And in some eyes, sure, it may be considered a lazy build. And the only reason being is because it is so very easy to just say, I want to pick Unimind with this many blue flames. These are my blue flames. Done, done, done. It's not 150 moving parts to it. So people can go ahead and point at it and say, thank you for the 7 people who are watching right now. If you have anything, please jump in, add some comments. Let's have some conversations. Let's have some fun. Sorry I was a little late getting to the show. To be honest with you, I worked today and did a baseball game, and I fell asleep on the couch like an idiot. So, but we're talking right now about lazy builds, lazy pilots. So people are calling it a lazy build because there's not much thought involved in it. I find that to be very idiotic, in my opinion. You still have to play the game. You still have to have battle strategy. You still have to be able to pilot, so on and so forth. I mean, Goblin King, full point Goblin King. Nobody called that lazy. Um, it's all about how you play the game. Now, if I'm going off of the synonyms for lazy, and some of those synonyms were, and I quote, inactive, um, lethargic, slow moving, um, then if that's the case, yeah, Uh, seems like there's also an epidemic of a lot of lazy players out there who slow play the game on purpose, who play don't die tech on purpose, and just keep their figures tucked away across the map on purpose, who don't play. And we've seen this on stream. So if you feel a certain way, or you feel like I'm talking about an individual or so on and so forth, please, by all means, go ahead and send me a message. You can go ahead and get me at Aries Edge. You can find me at Aries Edge 2626 at Gmail. You can message the show. You can go ahead and send us a comment at 2 clicks from KO. If you feel like I'm talking about you, or if you feel a certain way and you don't feel like this is fair, what I'm saying, by all means, please go ahead and voice your opinion. But some of these players who slow play on purpose, or who will literally sit down at a table across from someone and say, hey, do you want to roll off now, or do you want to wait the other 30 minutes we have of the game before we do that? That right there is lazy. That's lazy, in my opinion. If your whole strategy, if the whole thing you have is that you're going to sit there for 45 minutes and drain the clock and not try to be offensive, and your whole strategy is to just kind of, I don't know, dick around and not do anything, and you have the nerve to ask your opponent, hey, do you want to just roll off now? That's already showing me that you're going to, and I quote synonyms here, be inactive and be a slow moving player. Then you are being a lazy pilot, period. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but it's the honest to God answer. If others are playing what you call a lazy build, but they are still actively making attacks, and they are still actively counting squares and being aggressive in play, then no, it is not a lazy build. And no, it is not a lazy pilot. If your whole team is based around timing out an opponent to a roll off, then you are a lazy pilot, period. We have a couple of things up here. Lord Ofty, having people crapped on for playing full point Goblin Uni for like months. The players that even started the lazy narrative were just poking fun at Maddie in good fun. I don't know. I don't think it's good fun when the person who's being quote unquote poked at for good fun fires back and is upset. I don't think the person who is quote unquote having fun and somebody writes on his sheet, and I quote, Matty G is a bitch because you're upset that you lost. I think you've gone past the fact of being fun at that point in time. I think it's not fun anymore, especially then when somebody decides to ask the questions, why is my build lazy and others aren't? And you have no answer. You've literally backed off. You haven't said a word. So why don't you go ahead and answer the question then? I don't think it's good fun when the person who's quote unquote having good fun isn't having fun anymore. At that point in time, we can kind of go back maybe, and maybe that's considered bullying or cyberbullying at that point in time. Jeremy Walters, I gave both full uni players shit in good fun, but I felt it's gotten too far out of hand. Of course it is. But again, though, is it a lazy build or is it an effective build? Now, those players that played, I had an incident that happened, and you can ask Howard Brock about this. He played the person, he played them at Worlds. He went up against a full point Goblin King who played Goblin King and the Tony Stark car. And I think he played it in a way on a map where he was able to keep his Goblin King in open air terrain. And the way that Howard's team was is he couldn't get to the Goblin King to do anything. And the guy basically just drowned him out for 45 minutes. It went 0-0, and Howard got a 0-0 loss. Something along those lines is what people are kind of getting soured about. But again, as I just pointed out, lazy building in or piloting is anything that anybody may or may not think at any given time. If someone gets a hair across their buttocks, they could be like, oh, they're just being lazy or this or that. Lazy. I will again read you the definition of lazy: unwilling to work or use energy. Synonyms of lazy: idle, slothful, work shy, shiftless, loafing, inactive, inert, sluggish, lethargic, listless, torpid, innervated, slow moving, slow, heavy, dull, plodding. So it is all up for interpretation. It is very simple to call a lot of these players who play at a a slow pace to be lazy pilots as well, if you're going to go by the definition of lazy. I think it's a word that should be taken out. Um, I have some things here. Sure, but the blow up wasn't about the lazy comment, really. It was about the incident that happened at the event. Individual one never called Matt lazy. No, individual one called Matt a bitch because he lost. So again, it goes back to uh it goes back to the other parts of the discussion that the gentlemen from the Pacific Northwest have asked, and that is, why do certain teams, let me get the exact wording. I don't want to misspeak and take the question away. Um, So, cyberbullying, what is it? What is lazy builder pilot? Number three, why do some play groups feel that they're untouchable? This right here would go into it. They also listed off three examples of the latest drama. One, the Roc Cup call out screenshot aftermath, the Majestix stream incident, and the recent accusations of bullying. Again, there's all one nucleus to all of this. There's always one certain individual at the middle of all of this. And to be honest with you, somebody had posted up a good post. I don't know where it is. I'd have to go and dig it up and find it. But what it boils down to is that people are seeing the same blow ups, seeing the same people react the same way, and nobody is standing their ground, and nobody is telling this person or that person or whatever person, hey, you're wrong. You're wrong. You shouldn't act like that. You can't act that way. And we all just kind of shrug. It is what it is. No, it isn't what it is. It isn't. And until people start standing up for themselves and start pointing out, hey, that's not okay, or hey, you can't do that, or hey, you can't act that way. It's going to continue to happen. Why do some playgroups feel that they are untouchable? Because nobody stands up and tells them, hey, you can't act that way. It is not okay for you to act a certain way. If I showed up to your event and I can just completely made a scene or slammed on a table or talked down to an opponent or waited for you to do something to catch you and be like, and have one of those gotcha moments, you would not be happy about that. Until we as a whole, until we as a community all kind of band together and basically say, hey, it's not cool, then people in play groups are going to continue to do the same exact things over and over and over again because nobody has stood up and said, hey, enough's enough. Enough is enough. Okay. That's why certain play groups feel the way that they are. Also, certain play groups feel the way that they are is because they have a group of people telling them that it's okay to act that way. They have a following of people who say, yeah, you were fine. You were basically, you're surrounded by kind of like yes men. And I'm not pointing out any in particular play people or any particular play groups in general, but they are surrounded by people who say that it is okay to act that certain way and everything seems to be hunky-dory. Let me go to some of the questions and or comments that are popping up right now. You are aware of the Matty G is a bitch meme, right? People have been saying this for a year. I've even said it to his face in good fun and laughed. That's great. Again, just because you've done something for a year doesn't make it correct. When the person who becomes the part of the joke is done with it being a joke, guess what? It's not a joke anymore. When you put it on an official WizKids document and they've gotten to the point, when they've gotten to the point where they're at a tournament and both people have had words with each other that aren't the most pleasant because of it, it's not a joke anymore. It's not okay. Just because you've done something for a year and it's been a joke for a year and the person is not okay with it now, guess what? It's not okay. I don't know how to make that any more clear. If the person in the joke has run its course, guess what? It's not a joke anymore. Stop. I don't know what else to tell you. Jeremy Walters, right, Lord of the Fly, but what happened after that match was uncalled for. It became an issue impacting the rest of the tournament. Lord, whatever the hell his name is, for sure was a problem. I think people that don't know the meme, though, could make it a little bigger deal than it is. Here's the thing, though. It's not people who don't know the meme. It's the person who the meme is about. And that's what you're not understanding. Matty G has gone on record and asked questions about a certain thing, still has not gotten answers to it, and then somebody reported him for cyberbullying. Now it's gotten to a point where Matty G is done with the joke. It's not a joke. He's asking legitimately for questions to be answered, and nobody is answering them. Nobody is stepping up to say this, that, or the other thing, or apologized for it when he has basically drawn his line in the sand and said, I've had enough. And sure, and I'll be the first person to mention it. And yeah, I'm getting a little loud. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But I'll be the first person to say, Matty G can also be kind of a jerk when it comes to playing Heroclix. But he does it in a way where when he knows it's run its course, it's run its course. The Matty G, quote unquote, is a bitch joke has run its course because the person who is about does not like it anymore. Continuing to do it, guess what? Is bullying, is cyberbullying, is the exact thing that he was accused of. So pleading ignorance or saying, oh, it's part of the joke. I don't understand why no one knows it, because he's done with it. And he is asked now a particular question that nobody has an answer to or nobody wants to answer. Period. Sure, Jeremy Walters says, sure, the meme is a thing, but if we agree there was an issue, how it was handled, then we agree. Andrew Wynn, Aries, what are your options on the Heroclix community policing itself with these acts of unsportsmanlike behavior and or negatively behaving groups, individuals? Laura, that we do. I think the lack of knowledge of it is helping flame the fire. No, lack of knowledge of it is not helping flame the fire. What's helping flame the fire of it is people not owning their responsibilities and not stepping up and apologizing and or saying, yeah, that's on me. That's my bad. I let it get too far. It won't happen again. Going back to Andrew Wynn, yes, us as a community should have the nerve and the backbone to police our own community and tell someone, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Or, hey, what you did, you've crossed the line. Maybe you need to step back, look at the overall situation, and look at it and apologize for it. Point in hand, which will go straight over into question number 4. Question number 4, the Pacific Northwest Eagles flat out asked me, and this happened 51 weeks ago. I think I'm out of a drink. You're going to have to give me a second because I've talked so much that I am a little parched and I need to get something to drink real fast. So, yes, no pickle juice tonight. So, this leads over. Perfect segue. Yes, 51 weeks. Their question is, do you believe the Eagles are still classless? Now, this stems back to 51 weeks ago. I will read you verbatim. I've gone back and I have even, and I will reference, it was the Eaglecast episode 17. I even re-listened to their podcast. The comment that I made was, way to build up your game and play area by tearing others down. If you want more, you have to build it up and push your territory. I'm in New England, and we had one WizKids Open that people from all over showed up to. I'm happy just to have one 2 hours from me. You don't tear down others to try and build up yourself. That's no class. And this is a New Englander being polite on the situation. Classless. Now, this was 51 weeks ago. This was the Pacific Northwest not really enjoying me too much for close to a year. Now, in this specific incident, if I am speaking correctly, it was based on the fact, and it all stems back to the water map that was exclusive to the West Coast, that was exclusive to the Majestix Open, and so on and so forth. I believe somebody from the Midwest was traveling out to this tournament and was going to win one of those maps, and a big, huge debacle happened where basically it was ruled on that this map, the water map, the flooded map, would not be legal until the third quarter because of its exclusiveness, because there was an uproar in the map availability. Now, what I took exception was the fact that when the Pacific Northwesters, when the Eagles addressed this, they addressed the East Coast. They started off aggressive in saying things about the East Coast, and then made mentions of certain individuals or play groups or so on and so forth. But you said East Coast. I'm East Coast. When you say East Coast, I think Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, New York, New Jersey, maybe even Philadelphia. That's my territory. I am East Coast. Now, they went on and they changed it, and they didn't change it, but they changed the wording and said Midwesterns and things like that. And they went around and they changed some things. But first of all, they had a lot of hate for the East Coast. And as many of you know, I don't back down for anybody. So 51 weeks ago, I threw some shots out there and basically called what it was classless. Do I look back on it and think that it was classless? No, I don't. I look back on it and see that a group that is just kind of like me and just kind of like my guys in New England, those guys in the Pacific Northwest who are fighting to get acknowledgement and fighting to show people that, hey, we play Heroclix. We play Heroclix very well, and we do a damn good job of doing it. And we don't get maybe, I don't know, as much respect as maybe we should, because we're not in the quote-unquote big market of Heroclix. I see them as them taking their shot as much as I do. But when they said East Coast, I went on the offensive. Again, this is also a year ago as well. This was before I partnered with 2 Clicks from KO to do podcasts. This was before I was on many podcasts talking about Heroclix. This was before I did my research and found out how things were done in the meta, who was playing aggressively and traveling. This was before I had really taken the time to dig in and look at the competitive play scene. And the competitive play scene 51 weeks ago to now is night and day. And yes, I will say, for the record, to any Screaming Eagle, any Pacific Northwester who is out there watching, there's 12 people watching. I thank all of you for staying up to hang out with me and listen to me ramble, so on and so forth. I thank you all very much. And I will be the first person to say, no, I don't believe and I don't back what I said 51 weeks ago now. What was said and done wasn't classless. Could you have said it a little differently? Sure. Would you have? No. Basically, you said East Coast. I got defensive because I'm going to represent my section of the United States, my section of Heroclix. I'm going to go ahead and back the Tri-State, the New Jerseys, the New Yorks, the Connecticut, the Maine, Massachusetts, the Rhode Island players, and I'm going to back my guys, and I'm going to take offense to it, and I'm going to shoot back and shoot from the hip. So 51 weeks later, do I feel the same way that I did then? Probably not. Most likely not. Damn well, definitely not. I've talked with a lot of the Pacific Northwesters, and to be honest with you, you guys are not much different than I am. You're not much different than my play style. You're not much different than my section of the country. And I applaud you guys for pushing your players and building your scene and to continually pushing forward with it. So, no, in my opinion, you're not classless. If anything, you're just a rainier version of New England. So I applaud the questions that you guys had for me tonight. I loved all of them. Now, I don't know what else you kind of want. Examples, some of the latest drama, but not limited to. I'm guessing these are all kinds of things that people wanted to talk about, like policing our own community. The Roc Cup call out screenshot aftermath. If you don't know what that is, I went out and I made a live video on another page as well, where a certain individual called out another person, but then took private screenshots and threw them out there. That didn't sit well with me. The Majestix stream incident, if you didn't, you can watch it. You can go back. Again, it's one of those just sour grapes kinds of incidents. Let me read some of these comments first before I'm not trying to excuse anything. This is, let me look, Lord of TY, Lord Ofty. I don't know who you are. I don't know. I can't read your damn screen name. I'm doing the best I can. I'm not trying to excuse anything. I'm just pointing out that if you don't know the context of the comment, looks way worse. What a cliffhanger, 51 weeks. Oh, it's Tyler Spees. Of course it's Tyler Spees. Tyler, you're not good unless you have 80 to 100 attacks on Goblin King Spees. All right. Good to know that it's you, Tyler. Tyler, thank you for tuning in, man. Congrats on the world championship as well. Again, I can't. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for being I don't want to say mouthy, but thank you for actually putting your 2 cents in there. Thank you for not making excuses, I guess I should say too, for one of your teammates who may or may not be a topic of conversation right now. Jeremy Walters writes, and again, excuse my language. I'm trying to, I'm representing 2 clicks from KO. Most of you know me as being one of those guys that shoot from the hip and do live videos on some of the Facebook pages, and I have very colorful commentary. So I'm reading off these comments, and there are some foul language in them. So I do apologize for that ahead of time. And everybody who's watching this right now is probably like, what is Aries doing where he's actually apologizing for cussing? But I'm trying to represent my brand, 2 clicks from KO. I'm trying to represent my team pushing in a certain way that is not just what the old area, it wasn't even the old areas, what the very passionate areas can go ahead and throw up on a Facebook page. But Jeremy Walters writes, the bitch comment wasn't the major issue. It was how the match was handled by both parties. I expected better out of both players, but it is also because I respect both men. Tyler then says, so it's only classless if they call out your area. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like it because I thought it was classless that they were basically grouping in an entire section of the United States based off of, I don't know, 7 people having an issue with it. So yeah, I thought it was classless at the time. Tyler Spees, whales are bums. Sorry. Whales may be bums. Again, this now, what could we consider Tyler Spees to be a lazy pilot because he just continually plays the same thing? Could Micah Love be considered a lazy pilot because all Micah ever plays is shredders? Like, these are the questions people should be asking themselves too. Are these people considered, and I'm not calling you by any way, Tyler, lazy, but again, if you're going off of lazy builds or lazy pilots, could somebody who just plays the same thing over and over, I'm 100% a lazy player? Well, I'm glad that you go ahead and you take stake and you go ahead and own that, man. Like I said, I wasn't going to call you a lazy player. You're winning, and winning is what matters. Micah Love, though, he hasn't won anything, but he still plays by his shredders. So, again, I don't think is playing a full point Unimind in a sense lazy. I mean, I could see why people would want to call it lazy, but until you have played it and until you have gone up against some of these other harder teams and you've had to pick the right powers, play the right strategies, and done certain things, then no, I don't think playing 275 point or whatever it is Unimind is lazy. Do I think the person at Worlds, I don't know who it is, and if they watch this and they want to take shots at me or whatever, please, by all means, go for it. See this? I got real thick skin. I'm cool with it. But playing lazy to me is playing a 270 point Goblin King in a Tony Stark car, parking it on a map, and telling your opponent, I'm not going to move. I'm going to just go ahead and ride this out for 45 minutes. That's lazy. That isn't playing Heroclix at that point in time. That's just kind of hanging out. So Tyler says, I'm riding the whale tails as far as I can. Bro, I would too, man. If I had a team that was unique, I mean, you've only got Mini Shredder for so much longer. Have you thought of another figure to fill in for Mini Shredder? Do you have something in mind? You got, a little something you can throw out there that you're thinking of playing? A lazy player can perform semi well with full point uni. That doesn't make it a lazy play. And then that's kind of what, and then to echo Matty G, that's what he wants to know. Why are people calling his build lazy, but nobody called out his before? That's the question. And no one is, they reported him as a cyberbully. They reported him as a cyberbully. Can somebody please wrap their head around that for a second? I read off what he said verbatim. Was anything at all in that considered bullying? Can somebody? My man, Rugged Dookie, the other half, Mike Better half, Aaron Cantu, I can't tell you how much I love you. Thank you for choosing me to be on with you on 2 Clicks from KO. My man Rugged Dookie says, just catching up on the live chat. I never heard of the Matty G is a bitch thing till like 2 days ago. Me neither. I think if you're outside of that region, you've probably not heard of it. I think they did call others lazy. In fact, I'm sure of it. Where? Point me in that direction. I'm just asking, because nobody seems behind closed doors. Did they do it in their own private chat? Did they do it here, there, anywhere? But the stuff that Matty G points out in that whole big soliloquy of confusion and anger and animosity, nobody fully actually responded to it. I mean, I'm not asking anybody. I'm not asking Matt Dunham or Paris. I'm asking who it was directed towards. I'm asking who he asked. That's who I'm asking. I'm asking who took it and upon themselves to go ahead and label it as cyberbullying. That's what I want to know. That to me is that's bad. That's a bad look for our community. That's a bad look for our community. When somebody legitimately asks a question and instead of answering it, or instead of standing up and saying I messed up, or standing up and saying I own this or that, you just report somebody's comment. Aubrey Waltman, I believe his last name is Waltman, from the Eagles, was booted off of a page because he made some jokes about a few key things that if I go into details about, it'll give it away. But then he is thrown off of a page and then told that what he said was borderline cyberbullying and it was not called for, and the person wanted an apology. And after I looked over what was actually said, there was nothing that could be considered cyberbullying at all. Basically, it was somebody who just stomped their feet, didn't like somebody's opinion, and threw them off a page. I know that we live in this digital world where everybody can hide behind a keyboard and everybody can have an opinion and so on and so forth. I mean, hell, I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. But the difference between me and between others is I have no problem talking about anything at any time. And hell, I've even gone on this live video now, which is going on 50 minutes now. I've gone on this live video and basically told the Eagles of the Pacific Northwest that 51 weeks ago, maybe I said something because I was pissed because you called out the East Coast and maybe you misspoke and didn't mean to do that. And so I responded back with that. I've basically come around and said, yeah, I don't think you're classless. And I don't think that what I said 51 weeks ago reflects the same way I feel now about that region of the country, about that play group, about those individuals who I've actually had conversations with and who I actually think are good people. 51 weeks ago has changed and things change. But the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same things over and over and over to try and expect a different result. And the way it looks to me is some people in this community continue to act the same way over and over and over and are expecting the rest of the community to act a different way to have a different result. And it's not working that way. So something needs to change. Something needs to change for us as a community to grow. Tyler says, I still don't see how calling out the East Coast is classless, but calling out the Midwest isn't. Because the East Coast had nothing to do with it. If you go back, you listen to episode 17. Go back, listen to episode 17, and you will understand why. Because all of the feet stomping and all of the shenanigans that went down over a certain thing all took place between a certain group of people, and none of them were on the East Coast. I took offense to it as he was grouping East Coast or whatever you want to claim, with what is East Coast, what isn't East Coast, and the way that they addressed it, grouping me in with it, I thought was classless. I didn't like it because of the fact that they were just bundling. That'd be like me having a problem with Steve DiCarlo and me being like, yo, California Heroclix is butt cheeks. I hate California Heroclix, but I've only got a problem with Steve DiCarlo. Or that'd be like me being like, me having a problem with Chip Barnett and me being like, yo, West Coast Heroclix players are a bunch of just jerks, when it's not. It's one group. So to say East Coast, it's a very big coast. Once they started to change it and actually geographically place it where it needed to be, it was a much different story. But the last time I checked, a lot of the East Coast guys didn't have a problem with what they did with the ruling with the rock maps. So, and I believe Aaron Cantu even said, if you don't like it, why don't you just come here and you win the maps? Which was, flex mentalo on him. So good for you, Cantu. Cheers. This is a bigger conversation. It's still as classless to call an entire region. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not classless when you have the resources and the claims to back it up. It's classless to call out a region that has nothing to do with it. You are fully within your right to call out a group of people if they are wrong. And if you go to episode 17, the people who were involved may have been wrong. But that's for a whole nother conversation. So why don't you go ahead and I'm going to type up here. Go ahead and get on your keyboard. And why don't you go ahead and write 2 clicks from KO? Why don't you go over to the 2 clicks from KO Facebook page and send a message there? You can send Aaron Cantu a private message. You can send myself, Aries Edge, a private message. Hey, you can send AJ Pfeiffer a private message. We're all 2 clicks from KO. You can go ahead and message me at Aries Edge 2626 at Gmail with your questions. And I am more than happy to tackle anything heads on. As you can see here, I kind of threw myself on the sword for question 4 and told the guys in the Pacific Northwest, hey, I was wrong. I've grown as a person. I've reflected as a person and said, yeah, you know what? I was probably wrong. I was probably wrong on that one. And I was. So my man, Rugged Dookie, Aaron Cantu, I think they didn't address their issues in a very tactful way, but that is also kind of part of their shtick. Yes, and that's kind of what also the classless went into as well. The You can have the best gift in the world, but if you wrap it like dog crap, the packaging is always it always comes into play. And the way that they handled it, and they again they are uh like the West Coast version of Shots Fired almost, except they drink IPAs while Shots Fired drinks bourbon. Maybe they had a few too many pale ales, and they didn't maybe maybe word it correctly. They weren't wordsmiths that evening. So it is what it is. What? There's like 500 players in the Midwest. They had a problem with 5 of them. Yes, and they very distinctly have you let me ask this question. Have you actually listened to the episode that I'm talking about? Have you listened to episode 17? Because they distinctly point out a certain group of people. Okay, so then you know that they're talking about a certain group of people in the Midwest. Okay. So let's not play dumb here. They were trying to do it the most tactfully they could while maybe possibly having too many adult beverages. So let's call it for what it is. And we can all kind of, sift through the rubble and understand where they're pointing fingers at. So if we're going to do semantics, I need to invite Kenny Pena into this conversation because he's the king of semantics. So Old Man Howlett, almost like they want their podcast to be interesting. Okay. Not sure who that's directed towards or what, but yeah, you can just move it along. They called out the entire Midwest, though. That's the issue. They talked about the Midwest and called out this very specific grouping in the Midwest, but well, the conversation is generally the Midwest would smash any other region. Midwest players, then it's nah, you suck and you're jerks, and spirals down from there. And Aaron basically just hit the nail on the head. So yes, but if you're as intelligent as I think you are, Tyler, I think you can go ahead and stop, playing into the Midwest thing. You know exactly what they were talking about. They're just doing it in a roundabout way. The thing that irked me the most and kind of needled me the most was when they mentioned East Coast many times. And I think they ran right off with East Coast crybabies. And I was like, wait a damn minute. I don't even think anybody from the East Coast was that upset about the ruling because nobody was coming to our one rock event to use that map. But again, we're getting off topic here. I mean, good conversation. You got more stuff, throw it up there. It's only 10:30 here in Connecticut, so I got a little more time. I got a polar. It's a black cherry. I'm good to go. Okay, I can't do this over text. Laugh out loud. I give up. Someone screenshot it. I finally got Tyler to give up. Bada boom. It's perfect. This is the same. This is the same Tyler Spees that swears up and down you're a crappy player if you can't get off almost 100 attacks against a full point Goblin King. Just saying. I'm just saying. Tyler, I don't take anything away from your WizKids championship. You played great. We don't agree on everything, but you can at least have a adult conversation, and sometimes we can agree to disagree, which I have no problem with. So I appreciate the fact that you can be an adult and have adult conversations about some of the things that happens in a child's game, happens in a kid's game, happens in one of the greatest games that we all love to play. And that is the basis of all of this, is that how the hell did we get here? Why? Let me just get this in. My man Aaron Cantu, text doesn't convey meaning very well at times. I feel you, Tyler. Again, though, the questions again. One, cyberbullying, what is it? Two, what is a lazy builder pilot? Three, why do some playgroups feel that they are untouchable? Four, do you believe the Eagles are still classless? Examples of the latest drama, but not limited to the Roc Cup call-out screenshot aftermath, the Majestix stream incident, and the recent accusations of bullying. My question to anybody, we should do a Heroclix debate show. That would be incredible. You talk to my people, which is the rugged dookie above you, and we'll work something out, Tyler. I would love to do a hero. I mean, shit. Me and Cantu just did that the other day about is Heroclix pay to win, and we got some of the best feedback in the world because me and him, and this is the best part about working with Aaron Cantu. And I don't just say this because he chose me to be his co-host and he chose me to be part of the 2 Clicks from KO team, is that Aaron and I can go back and forth for hours on certain topics and we can understand the other person's point of view. That's what I think a lot of people in this game don't do often enough, is understanding the other person's point of view and saying, I understand your point of view. I get it. I don't agree with it. I am okay with agreeing to disagree. You know why? Because not everybody in this game is right or wrong. But my question to everybody who's watching, and the viewership has been great for this, and I love everyone who has stopped by, who has added their own conversation, their own questions. What the hell has happened to where I actually have to answer these 4 questions, and they're not? Paris is always wrong. That's a given, dude. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's not even a debate. But the question is why have we gotten here? Why have we gotten here? Bullying? Really? Calling people lazy because you don't like their build? This is what we've devolved to? Name calling, reporting people because you don't like their opinion or you don't like the questions that they asked. If I have to end this video with anything, it's going to be this. Grow up. Grow up. We have seen bullying on streams. We have seen bullying in person. And nobody steps up and puts themselves into a situation and calls anybody out and says, what you're doing is wrong. Instead, we hide behind our computer screens. We hide behind our cell phones where we can be anonymous and we can go ahead and report things to Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case is. And we feel like it's justice. We're not doing ourselves justice. We're not doing our community justice. We're doing it an injustice. We're setting it backwards. Somebody mentioned on here, do you think that we should be policing our own community and we should be policing the way things are run? Yes. Yes. If any of these things were to have happened at any tournament that I was actually at, and by all means, I go to 3 tournaments a year because I'm poor. And I have a child who is doing amazing at track and field right now. He's a freshman and just medaled in the long jump. But besides the point. Yes, but you have to have tact. You have to address those situations and call out those people and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Like, you don't deserve to, or you can't talk to somebody like that. You can't act that way. The fact that somebody, and I'm saying, I got multiple people who asked this question. The fact that I'm having to talk, I have to really talk about bullying. You don't miss me, Pat. Shut up. But the fact that we actually have to talk about this, we have to talk about bullying and cyberbullying. Come on, man. Be better. Be better. You don't win every tournament you go to. I know people expect to win every tournament they go to, and it sucks having to eat a loss. Shit, I went to Worlds and went 3-1, and I got bumped out of the top 16 by two positions, and I'm not salty about it. You know why? Because I loved going there. I loved meeting everyone. I loved playing everyone. I understand the business side of things. I understand that it wasn't so much WizKid's decisions on certain things, and I don't hold a grudge. We need to be better as a community. We need to be pulling each other towards one another instead of pushing each other apart. And that's basically what it boils down to. We need to police ourselves. We need our players and our teammates to pull one another aside and say, hey, that's not cool. Hey, you've gone too far this time. You need to step back and take a look at things. Or hey, you probably should apologize for that. And it sucks. It sucks having to eat your pride and tell someone you're wrong or apologize. I just did it. 51 weeks. The Eagles have had an axe to grind with me, and I just publicly went on YouTube and said, yeah, I screwed up 51 weeks ago. 51 weeks ago, I said something, and I don't stand by it now because it's not the same truth. People need to do a little more self-reflection, in my opinion. Should you call them out publicly or reach out to them privately? Legitimate question. It depends on the situation, Tyler. It depends on the situation. It depends on how comfortable you are with them. If they're berating someone or if they're talking down to someone, it's okay to step in and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hey man, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not cool." Privately message them, reach out to them. Hey man, I've noticed this, that, or the other thing. Like we need to talk. We need to fix this. We need to and again, and they're gonna deny it. There's no problems. I have no problems. There's none of this and there's none of that. We all see the problems. We all know that there are certain individuals uh need to be reined back in. Uh we need to do a better job of policing it. We need to do a better job of helping our community instead of dividing our community. Which would have better outcomes. Again, depends on the situation, I guess. Aaron, it depends on the person, how accepting they are of feedback. I would do it in private first myself. In the moment, definitely. I'm talking about after the fact. After the fact, I mean, hell, did you drive with them? If you drove with them to a tournament, have that conversation in the car. Hey, man, maybe do you think maybe we could have handled that situation a little differently? Hey, you do realize we were on stream, right? You do realize that, that's now on the internet for forever. Hell, a comment that I made almost a year ago is when I was talking to the person today and I said, what, because they kept saying shameless. The question they had worded it was shameless. And I asked them, what the hell do you mean? And they had 30 seconds. They pulled up my quote. They screenshot it, they cropped it nicely and sent it to me and said, oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't shameless. It was classless. 51W, it said below it. This person had been looking at this for 51 weeks and finally got to ask the question of, do I still think that the Eagles are classless? Do it in private. Reach out to someone. It's the most difficult conversation you will ever have, especially if it's a teammate. And I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again. Uh, Nancy Yang, she runs tournaments in Astoria, New York. I'd never met her. I've heard of her. I think she's a very awesome person. Her first opinion of me when I didn't even properly meet her. She sent me a message after Worlds. So I'm doing Battle Royals. I'm in the last grouping. There's 3 others. There's 1, 2, 3. There's me. There's the start of a new pod of 4 Battle Royals. I get up after playing. I was playing with PJ too, by the way. Um, I look down and there's a mess everywhere. I scream down to all the other guys, "Hey, get over here, clean up your mess, please. Like, these guys aren't your moms." And they all agreed. They came over, they grabbed their stuff. The person sitting across from Nancy has the nerve to say, "Well, that's what all the volunteers get. You get paid for." And I looked over at them. I said, "What do you mean?" It's like they don't get paid. I said, hence the word volunteer. Well, they're getting compensated for it. I said, so because these volunteers are getting compensated for it, it's okay for you to leave the tables a mess and just have no morals whatsoever. It's okay to just destroy the tables and be a slob because they're volunteering for that. That makes it okay for you uh to just act that way. And the guy just got quiet. I was like, you need to think about that. I was like, you're taking advantage of a situation and you're just being a slob because you think that it's okay to be that way. Again, policing a situation that I thought needed to be addressed. I yelled at other people. They came back, grabbed their boosters, throw them in the recycling bin, no problem. That's a very small thing. But if I didn't say anything, was anybody coming back to get those? Um, and I got a message from Nancy the day after thanking me for yelling out to those people, calling them back. It's not the most popular. Hey, I know it's not popular. I know that it was probably, you know, hard to do, but thank you for doing it and thank you for yelling out to them. And yeah, if somebody who may or may not be in your player circle, who may or may not be called to you a teammate, acts a certain way, um, it may be difficult to call them out and to have that conversation, but I implore you to do so. If everyone stays silent, that person thinks that the way that they're acting and they're conducting themselves is correct. And if you know it's not correct, or you think it's not correct, or you think it should be adjusted or whatever, and if you stay silent, you're part of the problem. And that was pointed out in the write up. You're just as guilty knowing that one of your teammates or somebody is acting a certain way and not having the gall or the nerve to tell them, hey, you shouldn't do that. Majestix Heroclix says, Aaron, I'm with you. Didn't hear about the Maddie thing until 2 days ago. I didn't know about the Maddie meme either. And I talked with Maddie, and me and Maddie have had words, and we had our little world competition. By the way, the guys in Shots Fired, I still haven't seen anybody come through with my winnings because I placed higher than Maddie G, but that's not here or there. Tyler says, then it's just a local thing, I guess. I definitely looks incredibly worse if you don't know the context. Again, as I understand, Matt has now voiced an issue with it, so you continue yeah. It seems like you're assuming people aren't reaching out. I'm not assuming anything. I'm just telling if people are reaching out, then the person who there is being reached out to isn't listening. So the rugged dookie, I acted like a jerk to Paris about being a fanboy to Pat. I thought it was shared joke, but he really didn't like it. When I found out, I apologized and we reconciled and now are friends. Perfect example. Majestix Heroclix, are you addressing me? I remember that one, Majestix. About the meme. Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, I think this is Rugged Dookie. Just because someone doesn't voice an issue doesn't mean it isn't there. At the very least, I think an apology is owed, not saying it hasn't happened or whatever, just making a general statement. And I will agree with that statement and on that, it's been an hour and 15 minutes, and it feels like we're just kind of going in circles. And it feels like I'm getting to be a little preachy, and I don't want it to come across that way. Again, thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you to Aaron Cantu, AJ Pfeiffer, the guys who help run 2 Clicks from KO. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to work alongside of you and call you guys colleagues. I appreciate that very much. And yeah, so this has been Ask Aries. You can reach us at the 2 Clicks from KO Facebook page. You can reach us at the 2 Clicks from KO Messenger. You can message Aaron Cantu, AJ Pfeiffer, or myself, Aries Edge. You can also reach me at AriesEdge2626 at Gmail. If you have a question that you want answered here on Ask Aries, by all means, send them in. If you want the email, what is the damn 2 Clicks from KO email? I don't know the 2 Clicks from KO email. Type it right now so I can read it off. Again, if you want to ask questions and you want your name associated with it, by all means, let us know. Yes, I want my name on this question. If you want to ask an anonymous question because you don't want your name associated with it, it's a sensitive subject, but you want somebody to talk about it and you want somebody to address it, by all means, send that in as well. We'll talk about it. Say, I want it to be anonymous. We will word the question accordingly so that it doesn't tie back to you. And then I will tackle it head on and hopefully have a great discussion like I did tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm sorry I was a little late. I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep on the couch watching the Yankees game because I was tired. So I'm sorry that I started a little later than usual. Won't happen again. It's always interesting listening to these things, and that's the point. Grago, I guess that's your name, kind of like Drago, but Grago. We love doing these things. We love interacting with everyone. So with that being said, thank you guys. Have a great Tuesday tomorrow. And I look forward to hearing from any and all of you at any given time. Have a great evening. Sleep tight. This is Ask Aries, sponsored by 2 Clicks from KO. We're out of here. Take care. Until next time. The party doesn't really start until you are 2 clicks from KO.